Thank you, Neha, for being here on this call and taking time to contribute your insights and perspectives for others to benefit. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So I'm going to get started with asking you some few important questions, which are very important for women as they move into leadership. The first one, Neha, is around deservability. How have you improved the deservability in your own eyes?
Sure. And that's actually quite an interesting question, especially in the industry that I work in, right? So this is an industry, especially the tech industry. We are on a journey and more work is required, but overall, right, we are on a journey for gender diversity, gender equality, right? And having worked in the industry for over 2 decades, from very early on, right, when in all honesty, 2 decades ago, women had a harder time being seen as equal, right? If not better at times when it compared to like people doing similar roles, right? And I've always worked on the principle of deserve then desire. And by understanding and clarifying sometimes with my line managers on, what are the requirements of the role? What is the statement of excellence? What does it mean when you say that you've exceeded? What is the exact gives and gets of excellence, right? And then any role that I've undertaken, I've been my biggest critic, right? And I myself hold myself in my heart, per se, to the highest of standards, right? And with that in mind, and just basically mentally checking off a checklist, right? When I want something and professionally, right, a stretch assignment, broader responsibility, one, I'm convinced 100% that I've checked all the boxes, right? So when I'm presenting my case, per se, in my mind, I have unbiasedly done everything required, checked all the boxes, and I know I deserve, and hence then I desire. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I mean, so you have used, is it like a logical reference sheet that you have that tells you that this is how I deserve something and then you go for it? Or is there an emotional component as well there, Neha?
I think that's a very good question. So every role that you do in an organization, right, you would have, a set of KPIs, right?
Correct.
Just looking at those KPIs and saying, am I attaining those KPIs or am I doing better than those KPIs? And can I hold myself accountable as me to say, I have delivered on every single KPI, right? And when I know I've delivered, then I have the ability myself as my biggest critic. I give myself the permission to desire.
Correct.
And that's something I think it's not specific to a woman. That's what I teach my child as well, that you first deserve and then desire. And then you, of course, have to prove your deservability as well.
Correct. Very well said, Neha. Thank you. Now, it tells me in this process where we improve our deservability and go and attain our goals, and women tend to become critically judgmental, one on our own selves, and sometimes in the people that we manage. How can we become more compassionately curious? Have you seen the transition in yourself, Neha?
That's again a very good question, right? And to be honest, I think I was fortunate. I was fortunate because I grew up under the stewardship of my grandfather, right? Very early on, and in fact, because of the higher degrees that my mom also had done, he was always very equal in his mind, right? And he was a lifelong educator. He was a learner. Even 80, 82 years of age, he was curious about anything and everything, right? And he read every day. He worked until he was physically unable to, right? And he had a very big influence on my life.
Beautiful.
And that influenced how I personally approach things. right? And that's what I tell my team. That's what I tell like I said, my child as well. So I'm naturally being curious, and I absolutely thrive on challenges, right? I get bored with things being the same, right? And again, the field that I work in, cybersecurity, I cannot even begin to assume I know everything,
Correct.
right? And which in itself is a very humbling thought. When you know you don't know, that is a very humbling thought. And that requires me, at least, to continuously stay curious, to continuously learn, to know what I don't know, right? And it also takes away the scope or even have the possibility or the have the possibility to have the audacity of being judgmental or critical. So personally, I think just growing up influenced by my own grandfather, and then being in the field that I am, you naturally need to be curious, because otherwise you will become obsolete. So you need to continuously learn.
Beautiful, beautiful. Very well said. We'll become irrelevant if we begin to think otherwise.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Neha, tell me, what is one change that you have instituted or you have done that has helped you to move more closer to your goals in a very effective manner?
Again, good question. And this is something I've trialed and missed and then learned, right? And what I'm trying to do as I progress my career or even coach others is I'm trying to become more bold about communicating my aspirations. Okay. Right? Naturally, as women, we do not ask for a promotion. We don't ask for a raise or a bigger responsibility. And we expect that if I'm doing everything that I'm required to be done and I'm overperforming, our work should speak for itself. And I have realized that doesn't always happen, right? It has not always worked for me. So while I still let my work speak for itself, I'm trying to be more and more intentional about communicating about my work. And thus my aspirations as well, right? So again, because I believe in deserve, then desire. But then I've realized that desire also needs to be unequivocally communicated without any doubt. And that's been my learning, right? Deserve, then desire, but also then communicate that desire to people around you.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, having the ability to speak up and amplify your voice, and basically, which can perhaps create a lot of impact for ourselves and for others as well, right? So speak up when we deserve to.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely.
Very nice. I also have a question for you, Neha, around identity. So as we build our capabilities and as we move into leadership, there's a certain identity that we create. So as we arrive into leadership, and you may recall our wow factors was all about arriving, striving, and then thriving as a leader. So when people arrive into leadership, there is something that they have to create an identity of relevance, creating relevance to who they are, right? So what's your experience there in terms of how women can create an identity and be relevant?
That's actually a good question as well. And again, it's been a journey, right? And we're all on that journey of having that identity as a leader, but then creating that relevance. And somewhere authenticity is, in my mind, a very, very important virtue. Because in the process of creating identity, we sometimes mask who we authentically are, right? And that to me is not my authentic self, right? And if I'm not my authentic self, I may appear relevant or I may create relevant that may not be long-lived. So while we are talking about identity and relevance, how do you think of that, and what authentic qualities that you have that you can bring to that identity of a leader, so that you can remain relevant for a longer time, right? And the other thing that I also believe in, yes, be your authentic self, but in order to be relevant, you need to be current, right? So when you've arrived in a leadership position, you need to continuously learn so that you're relevant as well. So again, humility to learn, humility to say that I don't know, but I will learn and come back. That also is a showcase of your authenticity, that then keeps you relevant to your teams.
Very well said, Neha. Is there any personal experience that you have that now when you look back, it'll be a good story for others to learn and imbibe from?
I guess all the experiences that I've shared are drawn from things that I've felt and learned and things that have not worked.
Okay.
But yes, I truly believe that the ecosystem plays a very key role in who you become, right? Who you talk to. Do you have mentors who can authentically guide you, right? Do you have people in the family that believe in you, right? And then you seek out those people and spend time with those people. That's the conscious choice you make. But yes, again, influence of my grandfather. My husband supports me like, nobody's business. He's my biggest cheerleader. But then how are you nurturing those relationships, and then your mentors as well? That kind of plays a big role in who we are and what we become, right?
Correct. Now, as you strive as a leader, Neha, and still, this creating relevance still remains true, but now you're challenging boundaries, because as you navigate the complexities, you have to challenge your boundaries. How is your identity standing up at this phase, Neha?
That's a good question, right? And challenging boundaries of who we can become beyond ourselves, and then challenging boundaries of what your role could do to help others as well, right? So where was I reading someplace to say, as Indians, we always want to aspire for more, right? And that, yes, Indians do believe that, but that's general quality of anyone who wants to do more, right? And that's, again, you've had that qualities in Asians, you've had that qualities in Europeans, etc. So how do you look at where you are?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do you challenge yourself in terms of, is this all I can do? Right? And then what's the example you're setting for yourself, for your next generation, and then people who look up to you? So in order to become bigger, you also need to continuously think about your legacy, right? Is this all that I want to leave behind, right? So legacy becomes an important factor in how do you challenge yourself to do more as an individual?
Right.
From a perspective of the roles that we do, and who you bring to that role as leaders. I would feel I'm never satisfied with status quo, right? There's always something more that we can do. And that actually is more me bringing my authentic self to say, is this enough? Is this something that is that all we can do? And somewhere having the cross references of people who've done big things also helps, right? Again, mentors, again, leaders that you look up to. And that's not gender centric. I mean, anybody who's done well, first and foremost, I guess, this inhibition of, oh, women cannot do this. That's something that's changing as a concept as well, right? So think of yourself as an individual in this profile. Can you do more? Of course you can do more, right? Now, what do you need to do that is the conversation, right? And that's the message you pass on to people around you as well. Is this all you can do? Can you not do more? So I think, again, it's cultural the way you get brought up. It's also who we are as humans, and then the fact that never be satisfied.
Correct. Very well said. Thank you so much, Neha. There's one question that comes to me while you were sharing all of this. When we aspire to do more, and then we encourage others to think, what's the limit of your own potential? What are the boundaries you can challenge? Now, unless you have an inspiring leader, people will not go that extra mile. So let's say you're a leader and you have a team and you want to, unless they see something in you, people are not always going to take that extra mile to make you successful as a leader. You're thinking,
Yes, and somewhere I'm thinking the way, in my mind, how it works is, am I worthy of being a leader? Right? In order to influence, again, I'm my biggest critic, right? So am I worthy of being followed? So that becomes my golden compass, right? Will someone look up at me, look up to me and get inspired? What am I doing that's inspiring? How am I bringing to the table, or what am I bringing to the table that's different from other leaders, right? Am I getting my hands dirty in the trenches, and that's what the team needs to be inspired? Then that's what I would do, right? If my primary goal is for the team to come together and do something, then am I being that anchor, right? Where I would go back and say, okay, this is what needs to be done. I will make sure you're protected. So my job as a leader is to guide the team, to protect the team, as well as then motivate the team by doing myself what I would expect others to do. If that's what will motivate them. So there are different kinds of people who get motivated with different things, right? Encouragement, seeing others do what they should be doing, sometimes coaching and guidance. So depending on the person that you're dealing with, or the collective that you're dealing with, but are you holding yourself accountable to say, what did I do today to motivate others?
Correct. Very well said. I should say thank you so much, Neha, for sharing some perspectives. These are some very important areas that people need to think about, because one aspect is there's a lot that is spoken about as what can bring more people and what should you do. But then there are certain things that you have to take from within yourselves. You got to take the effort, initiative to find a mentor, or you got to take the effort to speak up. So knowing and doing is becoming the biggest challenge, or that's the gap we need to bridge as we want to empower and build more women into leadership. And I'm very grateful that you shared some good perspectives, Neha.